Who let you in here? Oh, it's you. Buick Lesabre, rear brakes? Well, you're in luck. You never turned a wrench before? Maybe you know a few things. Don't worry, baby birds. Daddy's gonna feed you. Links are in the description. Mind supporting the channel, please and thank you. Now let's get a move on. Safety, safety, safety. Because let's face it, no one wants to see your guts splattered all over the driveway. Well, maybe the vultures. Vultures eat people? Let me ask them. Hey, you eat people? Nah, so we taste like chicken. Have all your tools and your parts ready to go. And just remember the 3 points of protection. 1, the jack stand. You want the weight of the car on the jack stand. 2, put the jack there, but don't leave the pressure of the car on the jack. Just leave it just enough, because I don't trust those jack stands. I'm looking at you, Harbor Freight. No, I'm kidding. I really love Harbor Freight, but those jack stands. Then you want the tire under there, so if the jack stand gives out, you got the jack to catch it. The jack doesn't catch it, the tire will. Gives you enough time to roll your ass out from under that car. Because like I said, no one wants to see your guts splattered all over the driveway. Now, the best place to jack this up from the rear is this jammy right here. It's a nice big fat cross member going across the width of the car. It's the best place to put the jack and the jack stand. You want to check your brake fluid. Chances are if your brakes are low, it's going to be low. Don't add anything now, because when you spin that caliper back and put the new pads on, the fluid's going to come up. So just leave it where it's at. You check it at the end. Now that you've got the car jacked up and you've got the wheels off, first thing you should be doing is you should be looking at your parts and making sure that they match what you have on the vehicle. This will save you a whole hell of a lot of time if the parts are wrong and you tear it all apart to get to the parts that are wrong, and then you have to put it all back together, and it's really gonna suck. Trust me. Brake caliper bolt, it's gonna be 13 millimeters, and you ain't gonna be able to get a ratchet on it because there ain't enough room. So you're gonna need a wrench. Chances are you're gonna need leverage though. You just use the double wrench method, and you can crack that baby loose. Now you're gonna take that bolt out, and you're going to have a hard time getting this caliper off unless you take out the park brake cable guide bolt, which is located here. Chances are that's going to be seized, because this one was. And guess what? I made a video showing you exactly how I got this one out. You can check that out right here. And once you have the caliper pried off, stop. You want to spin that caliper back now, because you will find out if it's seized or not. Because if it's seized, you ain't gonna be putting these new brakes on, because there ain't gonna be enough room and you're gonna have to put it all back together anyway. So you might as well find that out now. And you need a special tool to spin these back. This cube is great. It's about 10 bucks. Links in the description. Got a whole bunch of different sizes on it. Works great. Chances are your caliper is gonna take a little bit of effort to spin it back. As long as you keep steady pressure on it and twist and turn, as long as it's spinning, you should be good. It's probably gonna take you a little bit, but it just is what it is. And when you're done with that, you're gonna wanna secure that with some wire or some zip ties. Don't do what I did. I fudged up. Next, you're gonna remove your old pads. You're gonna need to get the caliper bracket bolts off, 15 millimeters, and they're gonna be on there pretty good. So you're gonna need a breaker bar, a pipe, or another wrench to get the leverage to get that off. Next, you're going to remove the caliper bracket. Now you're going to have to remove the rotor. So this one came off easy because I did these brakes 2 years ago, but look at that. I put anti-seize on it. See how well that works? Chances are yours are probably going to be rusted on there, and you're going to need a hammer to whack those pretty good. What you want to do is where you took the pads off, that surface area, it's going to be the only spot you're going to be able to hit. You're going to hit that with a hammer. You're going to spin the wheel about a quarter turn. Then you're going to hit it again, spin it, hit it, spin it, hit it. You get it? And eventually it'll come off. Now, like I said, yours is probably going to be pretty seized down here. This hub's going to be rusty, dirty, you name it. You're going to need to clean it really good. So you can use a wire brush, some fine grit sandpaper. If you got a whiz wheel, go right ahead and use that. But don't go gouging a lot of metal off that. You just want to clean the surface and you want it to be smooth to the touch. Doesn't matter so much what it looks like, you just want to feel it with your finger and there's no bumps or imperfections. Because here's the tip. Most brake pedal pulsations from the rear aren't usually from the rotors being out around. It's usually from this hub being dirty. So you make sure that this is clean. You know how you can tell rear pulsation from brakes from front? In the rear, you're going to feel it in the seat, right under your butt. In the front, you're going to feel it in the steering wheel. After that hub's all clean, you want to take your anti-seize and you want to paint that all up nice and pretty. Make sure it's all silver, because that'll save you in the long run. Next time you got to take this apart, it'll come off easy. You're going to want to take your caliper bracket, you're going to want to clean that off good. Take off all the old hardware, clean that off, spray with brake clean. Do not get brake clean on that post where the grease goes. Brake clean will dry that out, and you don't want that. Now you're going to want to install your new brake hardware. If you bought good quality pad, it's going to come with it. If not, you can buy this separately. And I don't recommend using the old ones because they're worn out and they're going to probably cause a lot of noise in the future. So you're going to put them in there. They're going to be pretty snug on there. You want to make sure they fit in securely and they're not impeding the travel of the rotor. Next, you want to clean off the caliper post, the clean rag, because this is going to need to be greased when you put it back together. You always want to clean off your new rotors with brake cleaner, front and back. This is to clean the shipping oils off of the new rotors, because if you don't, chances are you're not going to stop properly, it's going to make noise, and it's going to smoke. Not to mention it's going to smell like nasty. Next, you're going to want to put on the new rotor, and you're going to want to spin it. Make sure there's no noise and everything's moving properly. You're going to take your caliper bolts, you're going to want to put some high strength Loctite on that, because this is a key area that comes loose, and this is a major pain point of clunking, is this bracket will come loose. And you're going to torque this down to 94 foot-pounds. Now you're going to want to spin that rotor again once you have the bracket on. You're going to do this every step of the way, because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Because if you hear a noise, you'll be able to quickly correct it right now, rather than put it all together, go for a road test, hear the noise, curse your brains out, have to come back in the driveway and take it all apart and hunt down what's wrong. Speaking of cursing your brains out, if you haven't already done so, now's the time to take a curse break.
A curse break, a curse break. Everybody needs a curse break.
That's better. Now you're going to want to take your brake lube and you're going to want to lube up the points on your pads that rides in the brake hardware. See these little jammies here? You're going to get the top and the bottom, the front and rear, because those need to be greased. This will help with them moving properly and reduce noise. Your new hardware, they may fit a little snug. It's alright, you got to just get them in there. You also want to make sure the warning indicators aren't hitting anything and they're in the right spot. Like you guessed it, you're going to want to spin the rotor again. Make sure there's no noises. Okay, you're going to want to lube up the post on the caliper bracket, and then you're going to want to take these slides out of the caliper itself. You want to make sure they're clean. You need to grease them, make sure they're moving freely, because if they're not, they're going to cause problems. And you can see this one, the boot is ripped. This is going to cause problems down the road, because moisture is going to get in there and it's going to eat that grease away, and it's eventually going to seize. And then you have to pry that out and get it unseized. Probably have to change it and get a new one. So, like I said, if you make sure they're done right now, it'll save you a lot of headaches in the future. You can now put the caliper back on and You want to put the caliper bolt back in. You're going to torque that down to 20 foot-pounds. Okay, now that you have that all back together, you guessed it, you'll spin it again. See, you're getting it. You're going to spin that, make sure there's no noise. If you're all good, then you're going to put the park brake cable guide bolt back in. You're going to torque that down to 18 foot-pounds. Okay, this is very important. You need to double check everything. You want to check the park brake cable guide bolt, check. Caliper bracket bolts, check. Caliper bolt, check. You want to make sure that the cable is not twisted and the brake hose is not twisted. Make sure everything looks good. One last spin. Then you want to put your tire back on, and you want to put the lug nuts on by hand in a crisscross pattern, making sure it's even. Once you have that on, you can raise the jack up, move the jack stand, lower it down just a little bit, you can finish torquing it. After it's fully torqued, remove the jack, move it, make sure everything's out from under the vehicle. For the other side, rinse, lather, and repeat. If you're not confident, watch this video back again. The most important thing to do now is pump your brakes. Trust me, I've seen many people go flying into the garage door because they didn't. When you go on a road test, could you please not drive like a lunatic for 50 to 200 miles? It means no panic stops, no sudden stops, no stopping short, because you need time for the pads to cure to the rotor. Now you're going for the road test. You want to listen for any noises, feel for any pulsations, vibrations, anything out of the ordinary. If you followed my directions to a T, you shouldn't experience any of this stuff. Okay, now that you got back from the road test, you're going to pop your hood, check your brake fluid, make sure it's at the right level, and you're going to want to re-torque your wheels in the next 50 to 100 miles, 100 foot-pounds, just like you did, and your rear brakes are done, man. Good job. What? Would you want a frickin' sticker? Get the hell out of here.